Welcome to the interview and to the Irish Prime Minister's dining room in Dublin. Our guest is the leader of the only EU country with a land border with the UK. Taoiseach Micheál Martin, Fáilte Róg France 24, welcome to France 24.
Fáilte Róg, and delighted to be here. Yeah.
The UK has now fully left the EU and relations have become more than bumpy, to quote Lord Frost, the British negotiator on Brexit. Of course, Ireland is in the middle of that bump on the road. Taoiseach, will things get worse before they get better?
I hope not, and I do believe we have the mechanisms by which we can create cordial and good relations between the European Union and the United Kingdom. Ireland and Britain are old neighbours. We have transformed our relationships over the last 40 years, indeed 50 years, and particularly our common membership of the European Union helped and facilitated the growth and transformation of that relationship. And so we're going to work very hard post-Brexit to develop a bilateral structured agreement with Britain to facilitate the ongoing workings of British-Irish relationships. But we also believe passionately that it's in Europe's interests and in the United Kingdom's interest that there is strong alignment between EU and UK. We share common values in democracy and freedom of speech and climate change and many more issues. So it makes sense really to move this into a new phase post-Brexit.
Northern Ireland is the only part of the UK which has stayed in the EU single market for goods. A couple of weeks ago, the EU Commission threatened to increase controls on vaccine exports to Northern Ireland through the Irish Republic. By doing so, ignited a major diplomatic row. What really happened, Taoiseach?
Well, that was a mistake by the Commission. It has acknowledged that it made a mistake. It has been honest and open in its response. When I contacted the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, on the evening that this decision was taken, about half an hour after it became public, to be fair, the President of the Commission responded very quickly and moved to reverse the Commission decision. That was good, because I think when people admit that a mistake was made and work quickly to fix that, that's all one can expect in situations like this.
But the Commission seemed ready to use the nuclear option to revoke part of the Brexit deal on Northern Ireland without even alerting the Irish Prime Minister, you, on the issue of the Irish border. Were you angry at that, and could that happen again?
I was surprised. We were not entirely happy with that, but we got it sorted very quickly, and I have a good relationship with the President of the Commission, and we made contact and we got it sorted. But I think the context was very clear. It was in the vaccine context in terms of the failure of AstraZeneca to honour its contract with the European Union in respect of the volumes of vaccines that Europe expected. I think it's in the order of only 1/3 was committed to by AstraZeneca.
How much responsibility does the UK vaccine manufacturer AstraZeneca carry in this?
Well, I think AstraZeneca made commitments to the European Union, doesn't appear to be in a position to fulfil those. It has to take its degree of responsibility. It shouldn't have resulted, and it shouldn't have escalated to the degree that Article 16 of the protocol was used. And clearly, the European Commission was very, very angry with AstraZeneca, and that's very evident from the discussions and the public row that ensued between AstraZeneca and the Commission. And clearly, we got caught up in that, and the protocol got caught up in that. We now put in mechanisms, a clearinghouse mechanism that the Commission itself has put in around politically sensitive issues, that there would be a stop and reflect before move to action in respect of issues of this kind. And also in terms of vaccines, I think we just need to cool it. It's very, very disappointing that AstraZeneca has not been in a position to provide the volume of vaccines that we were all expecting. And it's quite a significant reduction in what they had promised and in what they had committed.
And will they deliver these vaccines?
Well, that still is unclear. My understanding is the Commission have not yet got transparency in terms of how the company is going to make up the deficit in Q1 supplies to the European Union member states. And that has set back the vaccination programs in quite a number of member states.
Brexit, the pandemic, vaccine wars. Is there a perfect storm brewing that could turn into a nationalist Cold War in Europe?
No, I would hope not. I think we have to avoid that at all costs. I wouldn't overstate it. I think the issue with vaccines is related also to the fact that most member states, and UK included, are experiencing a third wave of the pandemic, which has been very severe, both in terms of numbers and in terms of impact on health and mortality. So understandably, people at the same time want to get access very, very quickly to the vaccines. And that's given rise to increased tensions. But other vaccines are coming on stream. We look forward to Johnson & Johnson. Hopefully it will get early authorization. And that will help enormously, in addition to higher volumes from Pfizer-BioNTech, increased volumes hopefully again from Moderna, but also other vaccine manufacturers that are progressing with their particular vaccines.
About 4,000 people have died in Ireland of COVID-19 in a country of about 5 million people. Irish people can see the UK vaccinating quickly. About 22% of people in the UK have had their first jab, only 5% of Irish people. Do Brexiteers have a point that things seems to work better outside the EU?
Not at all. I mean, Brexit is not about vaccines, you know. That's just would be a very superficial analysis of the enormity of Brexit. Brexit is a disruptive decision. We accept and respect the right of the British people to make that decision, but it is disruptive to economy, it's disruptive to jobs, it undermines economic growth in the medium term, and I think, in my view, was a wrong decision. That's my view. So I pay tribute to the UK government in relation to vaccines. They've taken decisions. They decided to do emergency authorization as opposed to the normal protracted authorization, and they're getting the first dose out because they had a big challenge also in terms of the variant, the new variant, which was more transmissible and more severe, and so they've raced ahead with the first dose.
They basically used EU law to get ahead of the EU.
Well, yeah, and the EU could have used that law. But let's all be clear what the law is, or what the mechanism is. It's basically an emergency procedure whereby it's ordinarily used, if I'm not mistaken, in the context of a patient who requires a medicine urgently to help them to overcome a severe illness. Vaccines are not medicines for severe illness. The vaccines are there to protect you from getting a disease. Now, given the raging nature of the variant, one can understand authorities taking different positions on that, and some wanting to move more quickly than others.
The lockdown in Ireland is in place until Easter, with all the impact on the economy. Do you think the EU should have taken a better concerted approach to fighting the pandemic?
Well, I think on the economy, Europe has done very well. This is unprecedented, the European intervention, not just the multi-financial annual financial framework, but the Recovery and Resilience Fund that we negotiated in July, where collectively Europe came together. I mean, President Macron, Chancellor Merkel gave leadership to Europe and said we must do something exceptional here to deal with the economic consequences of COVID-19. And I believe that was a big, big moment for Europe and for the European Union. We supported their initiative enthusiastically and the work of the Commission in creating that borrowing facility, collectively borrowing funding to help countries recover from COVID. And I believe also the role of the European Central Bank has been instrumental in facilitating sovereign governments to borrow funding at low interest rates and to facilitate governments' unprecedented interventions in terms of the economies across Europe. So we have found the European supports very, very helpful indeed. And I think they're stronger than what would have been the case 10 years ago, or indeed 10 years ago.
Let's talk about the cost of Brexit to Ireland. Many unionists who want Northern Ireland to remain within the UK are very unhappy about the trade border in the Irish Sea, and they're putting pressure on the British government to get rid of the Northern Ireland Protocol part of the Brexit deal. Will that protocol be implemented? Is it at risk?
The protocol will be implemented, and indeed I'm heartened by the comments of Secretary Michael Gove, along with Maros Sefcovic, that they will work to make the protocol effective. We're only 2 months into Brexit, so teething problems are understandable. The agreement provided for the assembly in Northern Ireland to reflect on this in 4 years' time. And I think we need to give it an opportunity to work. We need to dial down the rhetoric, keep calm, and be practical about it, and make it work for the citizens of Northern Ireland and indeed the entirety of the island of Ireland.
Brexit has reignited the questions of identity that had been by and large parked by the Good Friday Agreement, being Irish, being British on this island. Have you got a timeline as to when a referendum on Irish unity would be possible here in the South, in the Republic?
2 points about that. The Good Friday Agreement didn't park identity. Rather, it created a framework to respect identity and to respect different identities and to have parity of esteem between different traditions, those of the unionist persuasion who want to stay part of the United Kingdom and those of a nationalist Republican tradition who want to be part of the United Ireland. So the Good Friday Agreement, its genius was that we would have that parity of esteem whilst getting on with the pragmatic work on the island in terms of health and education and the daily struggles of life of people. I don't foresee a border poll, certainly over the next number of years, not during the lifetime of this government. Rather, I have created a shared island unit within my department here to move on the agenda of a shared island, asking the people who live on the island of Ireland, irrespective of your constitutional preferences or your tradition, how do you think we could best share the island of Ireland together in education, in health? How do we deal with climate change on the island of Ireland? That's an issue that doesn't respect political borders. And that is my approach. It's about the Wolfe Tone approach, who was the father of Irish republicanism, who inherited his ideas from the French republican tradition and the French Revolution, essentially uniting people and creating a unity of purpose among people as opposed to territory alone. And that's the spirit in which I intend to proceed in the coming years as Taoiseach.
Taoiseach, thank you. This is the end of the interview. Our guest was the Irish Taoiseach, the Irish Prime Minister Micheál Martin. Stay with us on France 24.